Welcome to the Father Notes podcast, and I am your host, Warren W. Patten Jr., or you can call me Father Patten. Father Notes is an informational style podcast created to give fathers a voice in their family structure. I encourage fathers to take back fatherhood and shake the trees of tradition to create a stronger family unit. We'll also delve into men's health, leadership, mentorship, and so much more. Okay, men, it's time to be a better father on purpose. Welcome, and I say welcome. It's time to be a better father on purpose. Now, I have this book for you, Father Notes, Being a Better Father on Purpose. And I hope that you can get your copy, because inside there are topics, thought starter topics that you can talk to your son anytime, and have lines on each page where you can take notes. Yeah, so you can remember what you talked about from one time to the next. I think it's a great book. I definitely use it with my sons, and I have 5. Remember, I have 5 sons. I had to keep up with when I talk about different things with them. They were trying to play me. Father, you talk to me about that. Oh, no. I have my book. So I'm encouraging you to get your copy of Father Notes. Welcome back, fathers. Father Patten here. And this is episode 4. I'm so excited because it's still rolling. I hope that I am sharing some key pointers to help you be a better father on purpose, build your relationship with your son, and become the patriarch of your family. Yes, that's the ultimate goal. Become the patriarch of your family. And once again, I want to make sure that you use your copy. If not, if you get your copy, I'm going to be using a quote that I made up, and I put it in this book. And that quote, you can see it right at the bottom. My common sense and your common sense do not make sense. I had to go pause so that you could think about that. And I am on page 19 in Father Notes, and this is book note number 7. Ooh, yes. So I hope you have that, but I'm not going to hold the book. I'm going to allow you to get your copy, sign in your book, your name, and also get your son a copy. Put their name in their own book so that they can take notes. But we're going to dive right into it because we're going to talk about common sense. I'm going to say again, my common sense and your common sense do not make sense. Gone are the days of common sense. There's too much going on. Common sense is not shared. We all have our own opinions and beliefs. We come from different households, and what's discussed in that household is not the same as what is discussed in my household. So sometimes we say that don't even make sense. Not to you, but it might make sense to someone else. We have to really think about that. I think the days of common sense are gone. They are in the past. Things that are happening now, they don't have to make sense to us. We just have to navigate the world as we see fit and what makes sense to us. Hey, little segue there. What makes sense? I told my sons, and I hope that you teach your son in your family about different values that you have. You have to teach them about integrity, honesty, respect within the household. You got to talk to your son about understanding other people and talk to them about their emotional accountability. Oh, that emotional accountability, that's a tough one. That's the reason why I say you have to talk to your sons often, as much as possible. And don't think for one moment that when you talk to them about a topic for the first time, that's going to be the last time you talk about that topic. Oh no, and oh no. You're going to have to talk about that topic several times, because as they get older and as they experience life things, situations, and listen to their friends, they're going to have different mindsets and they're going to start questioning what you told them. What? What? That's right. Hey, real world. They're going to question what you say. So, what makes sense? Like I said, you got to teach them family values. You got to teach them sound judgment without being judgmental. That's a heavy one right there. Because sometimes as parents, we are so judgmental. We sometimes forget the things we did when we were young, the mess we created back in the day. Don't talk about it right now. It would be scary. But I've tried to be very honest with my sons. And I told them some things that I was not proud of, but I wanted them to understand. I too had to learn some lessons. I had to find my way in this world of common sense and what makes sense. And you have to arm them with the mindset of thinking for themselves and not allowing other people to think for them. I know you know this is true. I was once in high school and people were doing things that I didn't agree with, and I knew I wasn't supposed to do it. I had to run home. Oh, and not just run home. I had to ride my bicycle home a few times, but I had to get away. I could not follow some of the things that people were doing. I knew better. And I think we should talk to our sons about listening to that inner voice, that instinct that tells them, this is not right. Not gonna do it. You have to really stress with them that it is a real thing. I think the Lord gave us that. We have to use it. Now, like I said before, when you talk about a topic with your son, you got to know that you're going to talk about that topic several times. So I say, invest the time in explaining the situations and the consequences. Explain the situations and the consequences because there are consequences to each situation. And that's where you have to really be vulnerable and open to the things that you did and the lessons you learned. I'm going to take you back to episode 3, learning the lesson. Oh, yes, this is the time that you have to really train them to think for themselves and learn the lesson. Now, I know there are so many situations, but this is a few things that I shared with my sons. And I know that it went in one ear and went out the other, but I said it to them several times. This is one. Son, get your own apartment. Do not move into her apartment and do not move into a friend's apartment. I know you're shaking. I know you're quivering. And you probably said, I did that. I told him, no, get your own apartment. Because if things go bad and she gets mad, it's going to be the first thing she said, get out. You better get out of my apartment. Don't even put yourself in that skillet of hot boiling grease. Don't do it. You'll get fried up and then flip to the other side. Don't do it. I told my sons, don't do it. They're lucky. They heard me. It is amazing. They heard me. So, hey, as we go, I told my sons this. Here's another one for you. Do not get a phone plan. Get on a phone plan with a friend. Don't do it. We tried to get them on our phone plan. And then when they were able, we got them off of our plan and they started their own plan. But you know, sometimes they want to get that deal with the friend. Scary. Because that friend may not be thinking about your best interest. I know you want that low price, but you better get your own phone or it'll get cut off. And then what you going to do? Get mad? Get angry? There's nothing you can do. Trapped once again by not following what makes sense because there is no common sense. I got another one for you. I told my sons, son, Don't help anyone else until you can help yourself. And I'm talking about with money. Oh, my goodness. My sons want to help everybody. But I told them, don't help anyone until you can help yourself. And I gave them this story. Oh, let me tell you, I had to learn the hard way. But I learned, yes, I did. I was a young man in college, and my girlfriend wanted an apartment. She had a job. I had a little job because I was a scholarship athlete. I could only work during the summer. But I saved up my money so that I could have some money for the school year. But she got mad at her parents. And she said, Warren, I want to get my own apartment. And what did I do? Listen, I'm not going to even say what I was about to say. And I put up the deposit. I'm not going to tell you how much it was. That was back in the day, but it was still too much money for a poor little college kid like me. I put up that money, and don't you know, a day later, she said, my mama won't let me move out. Do you know how many memes I did with my face? I'm like, I did every, I was making all kinds of faces. I'm telling you, before memes were even invented, I was making faces. I was doing everything. And then I said, well, hey, let's go back and get, my money. And they told me deposits are non-refundable. What? I told my sons about that. I learned a valuable lesson. It made sense. I thought it was just common sense to help your girlfriend out. I thought, but I learned a lesson. That didn't make sense. If she wanted to get her own apartment, she should have had her own money. I learned a big lesson. Do not help anyone else until you can help yourself. And when I didn't get that money back, I could not help myself. I had to starve a little bit. Oh, yes, let me tell you, young college kid, I was eating potted meat, Vienna sausage. I'm telling you, I was po, P-O-E, po. It was terrible. But I learned a valuable lesson. Never again. When I got out of college, I got my own apartment. Period. When you learn the lesson, you have to be all about the lesson. And you have to remember how you felt when that happened. And you got to tell your sons the real deal because it's going to come true. And sometimes they're going to slip, trip, and fall into a situation. And they're going to call you for sure. Father, you told me. I said, yes, I did. Did you learn your lesson? Yes, I did. Thank you. It's okay to make a boo-boo here and there, but you got to use what makes sense because it's not common anymore. What makes sense to you. And you can't be judgmental. I couldn't get mad at my girlfriend. I knew exactly what we were doing. I didn't get mad, but I wasn't going to give her any more money. It don't mean I was mad. You mad at me? No, I'm not. But I'm not giving you any more money. You got to be real. Learn the lesson quick, fast, and in a hurry. There are so many situations. Now I'm giving you examples of what you can use with your sons when they're a little bit older, but you can also give them some really big things that make sense when they're younger. When it comes to grades in school, you really have to talk to them about what makes sense. Why do they have to go to school? Why do they have to do the lessons that are being given to them? All of those things, it's just going to make sense, but you got to explain it to them. Sometimes parents just say, you just need to do what I say, and that's it. Don't ask questions. I tried to give as many examples, explanations as I could. I tried to. And sometimes it's very difficult. So I hope I'm helping you. Whereas fathers raise their sons, there are so many things that we can help them with by giving them the examples of what we learn coming up. Sometimes I think fathers think they'll learn, they'll be all right. You hear all these little cliche sayings that really don't make sense. Don't make sense. They'll be all right. They're going to learn. When they get out there, they'll understand. No, prepare them. Don't let them slip, trip, and fall into it. Allow them the knowledge ahead of time on what they can do depending on any situation, and leave the door open for them to call you at any time so that you can give them just a little bit of advice versus calling a friend that may not know exactly what to do. Now, let me go back. Common sense does not make sense. My sons, as they were growing up and they were very young, they would experience what their friends were doing. Then they'd come back and ask if they could do what their friends were doing. And of course, we had to entertain that. And there were times, and video games were hot. I'm telling you, video games were hot. And our sons wanted to do the video games. And my wife and I did not want to bring video games in our home. But the powers that be, the world says, you got to have video games. So we did. We went along with that. Now, my sons did have video games. They couldn't play as much as they wanted to because I had time restraints, day restraints, consequences if you didn't do chores. All of that was in there. But they would go and visit their friends to play a little bit of video games at their friends' home. And they could see how their friends' parents were much more lenient than theirs. And they started to question their parents. What? It's real world. They come back and say, well, my friend can play video games till 10 o'clock at night. He doesn't live here. You live here. And I don't want to talk about your friend, but you're going to graduate. I don't know about him. So you're going to get your work. You're going to get it done. And you're going to play video games when we say it's time for you to play video games. We understood, but we had to explain that. They didn't realize that their friends could have all kinds of games. The Xboxes, Xbox 1, 2, 3, PlayStation 10, 11. I mean, they had everything. My sons were playing on the Xbox One forever. And we kept bringing in new games. They were so mad at us. I would hide the games consoles, and they would go on a safari, a mission to find them. And they always did. They were so sharp. Oh, my goodness. But that was a test for us as parents and a test for them. It became a game for me to hide them in different places, and they still find them. And we'd continue to play the game. And I was more lenient. I started letting them play the game more and more and more. But there were so many lessons in that situation when they would go visit friends and come back and see that things were different in other people's households. How could their friends stay out later than our sons? How could they let friends come over to their house at any time? How could they let girls come over to their house at any time? Those things did not happen in our home, but they saw it with their friends. So we had to really monitor when they could go see their friends. So that's just another situation where I wanted you to be aware, because you have to talk about it, and you got to take some of your own advice. When I said what makes sense, you have to share the values and sound judgment without being judgmental. And that's going to be a big key. Do not be judgmental. They are young and they're going through their own experience. And my sons were going into the peak of social media. Woo-hoo-hoo. I had to learn social media so that I could understand what they were going through. So many things a father can do to help their son navigate this real world. And there's so many obstacles out there, so many barriers out there that you can do to help them. Now, the only thing that makes sense, little twist here, is money. That's the only thing that makes sense. Real world. That's the only thing that makes sense. When you spend money, you might get a little bit of sense back. But that's it. Not going to get any common sense. But you have to train your sons on what makes sense so that they can do things the right way and not have many regrets, and they won't have unexpected things happening to them where they're like, I didn't think that was going to happen. Yes, you did, if you were listening to that inner voice. Now, that's one of the things that I'd say about common sense. And I want to break it down just a little bit. When you talk to your sons about what makes sense, when you talk to them about the values, not being judgmental, this is the time where a father helps their son find their voice, have their son speak up for themselves. And that's very important. Too many times in the parent household, we have these old terms that we need to throw away. Speak when spoken to. When grown-ups are talking, you don't talk. We have to give our sons a chance to express themselves. And many times, all men just shut down. We don't want to say anything. We don't want to get into the discussion. And then by the time we do, we're so mad we can't put together a good sentence. Give your sons a chance to express themselves, to verbalize how they feel, to verbalize what they think. This is all about what I say in this podcast. And I say, make the choice to use your voice. It has to start when they're very young. Let them talk. These are teachable moments when we give our sons an opportunity to express themselves and talk about what's on their mind. Because sometimes they don't get the opportunity. And sometimes they're outnumbered. There's so many women around, females around, they can't get a word in edgewise. But we have to be vigilant and allow them to express themselves. And yes, with my wife, that was a little bit of a struggle, but that's how we learn to be better mothers and mother and fathers together, because we had to be real honest about what we do, how we do. We were both raised in a different household. It's really weird though. We had something in common. I was the oldest of 5. She was the second oldest of 9. But she was the one pretty much running the household, helping her younger brothers and sisters. The same with me. But were we doing the same things? Oh no. We had to come together and learn together on how we wanted to raise our sons. And we could not be fighting in front of them. But we had to be open and honest. My wife, she could ask rapid fire questions. Rapid fire questions. And my sons would do the deer in the headlights. That's what they do, just like this. They didn't know which question to answer first. So I had to jump in and help. I said, wife, please ask them one question at a time. Now, sometimes those questions come in rapid fire. She's not looking for an answer. She's just trying to beat them down. I understand. I got the same thing as a young man myself. But we as fathers have to step up and give our sons a chance. Give them a chance to express themselves. I say, wife, ask them one question at a time. But you gotta let them answer. Even if you don't like the answer, you got to let them answer. I know you waiting on some examples. I got some examples for you. Yes, I do. Here's one. Son, I know people want to say B-O-Y. I'll tell you in some later podcasts why I don't like the word boy. We'll get there. Not on this one. So I'm going to say son, because that's the word that I use in my household. Son, why did you put that fork in that electrical outlet? And we as parents think he can answer that. He can't. He doesn't know why. Some of it is curiosity, and that's all it is. But they don't know how to say that. But we still ask them those questions. And I don't want to say it's a stupid question. It might be. But how do we think they're going to ask that? And if we follow that one question up with 2 or 3 other statements, son, why did you put that fork in the outlet? Don't you know you can get electrocuted? You trying to kill yourself? Who's going to help you when you're laying there dead? You see what I'm saying? You know about it. What is he supposed to do and what is he supposed to say? We just shut down. But we have to allow our sons a voice. Allow them to express how they feel, even if they don't know. That's what I call a teachable moment. I need my bell. That's a teachable moment. And that's where we as parents, especially fathers, have to teach them what about that situation. What makes sense? And what are the consequences if they put that fork in the electrical outlet? Got another one for you. Why did you jump off the top bunk? You trying to break your leg? You hit your head on the ceiling, didn't you? What is wrong with you? You can't ask all those questions. And if you have a wife that does, bring it to their attention. And sometimes it's just a daredevil in little boys. They like to jump around. But we have to give them the reasons why they should not. Set the boundaries in your home. And if they still do it, understand you have to talk to them again and again and again and again. But those are the things that I think about because I had 5 sons. They all jumped off the top bunk. It was so much fun. We have to be better as parents and as fathers to understand that's just how it is. When I was coming up, there was no bunk bed. And me and my brother shared a room, but there was no bunk bed. I got another one for you. Yes. Why are you playing with those matches? That was me. I was a little firebug. Oh, why are you playing with those matches? You trying to burn down our house? What do you think you're going to do with those? All those questions, I couldn't answer any of them. Just curious. But my stepfather, he had a different way of getting the message to me. All built. Anyway, but I learned my lesson. Yes, I did. It's all right. I understood. It didn't make sense for me to play with some matches. It did not. So we have to be better as parents, super better as fathers, because we have to use our voice in order for our sons to see how important it is for them to use their voice in any situation. And I practiced this at our kitchen table. When we were having dinner in the evenings, most evenings when I was here, and we were talking at the table, yes, I would ask questions and go around the table. What do you think, Jonathan, Jacob? I'd give everybody the opportunity to answer questions. And some of the questions were pointed. Why did you get a D on your grade on that test? And give them a chance to answer. And I might have to say at the table, nobody else talk. I'm waiting on an answer. Got to give them the opportunity to use their voice. That's why I say it. Make the choice to use your voice. Come on, Father. This is your opportunity to speak up in your own home because you're working on being a better father on purpose. And you're working on being the patriarch of your family. You're going to have to shake the trees of tradition. You're going to have to change the way things are being done because the old way is not the best way anymore. I'm going to say it again. The old way is not the best way anymore. But the new way is always evolving. Always evolving. So we have to be open-minded enough to know that things must change. Things must change. And it starts with you, Father. Real world. The family unit is so important that things must change. I am so excited on this podcast number 4. We're rolling. And I'm so glad that you joined. And I hope you learned a couple of things that you can share with your sons. And I'm primarily talking about fathers and sons. And please ask a father if they need some support. Need to learn a thing or two about father notes. Ask them to tune in. I try to do my podcast where they will, you know, post on my YouTube channel on every other Wednesday. And this coming Wednesday, this podcast will be posted. I won't say live because I'm live right now. It'll be on my YouTube channel and my Facebook channel. I definitely appreciate all of you who are joining. I'm hoping this will grow because more and more on TikTok and Instagram, I hear more examples of people trying to help fathers be better fathers, and fathers have their voice. This is something that we don't talk about a lot. And this is my opportunity to leave a legacy with my sons, and two of my sons are fathers, or three of my sons are fathers, and leave a legacy behind in the hopes that I've helped someone not just with my sons, but someone else out there. That was one of the reasons I wrote the book, Father Knowts, Being a Better Father on Purpose. And as I have promoted the book, many people said, "Oh, Mr. Patten, you have something there. You need to do a podcast. A lot of people need to hear more about your thinking, your mindset, and the blessings that can come from being a better father on purpose." Don't be scared. Don't be afraid, Father. Make the choice to use your voice. I got to put it on the screen. Hold on. I got to put it on the screen. Make the choice to use your voice. This is the time where fatherhood must become front and center in the family unit. The family unit. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for joining Father Knowts, episode 4. And I have much more to talk about from the book, Father Knowts, Being a Better Father on Purpose. I hope you get your copy. And you can, if you email me at warren@warrenwpattenjr.com, or go to my website, www.warrenwpattenjr.com. and order your copy. I'll sign it for you. Yes, I will. And send it to you. I surely will. So tell a father to tell another father about Father Knowts, the podcast. Thank you so much for joining. I'm out of here. Thanks for joining the Father Knowts podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Warren W. Patten Jr. That's Patten Jr. Follow our socials on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Father, make the choice to use your voice.